It's my pleasure to have the opportunity to interview Mr. Ramsey Dellinger, the CEO of Business Continuity Solutions, Inc., stock ticker BUCS. That's Bravo Uniform Charlie Sierra. Welcome to our show, Mr. Dellinger.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And feel free to call me Ramsey as we go through the show tonight. A little more informal. I'm kind of like that.
Oh, I appreciate that. I know it's not always easy to take time out of your busy day, so we appreciate you being with us. Well, how about if we just get started, Ramsey, with how about if you provide a brief history of Business Continuity Solutions, Inc.?
Sure. No, I appreciate it. Again, thanks for allowing me to come on tonight and give you guys an earful of exactly what we do, because it is an absolutely and just a fun business and a thrilling business to be involved in. The real simple and short is we provide backup disaster recovery to a B2B industry today. Backup disaster recovery has kind of a big word behind it, especially if you look at a lot of the economic and the world disasters that have taken place over the last, 15, 20 years. But essentially, backup has changed in its form in the data world in a dramatic way, and then being able to recover. Right? It's not just about being able to back up your data anymore. It's about being able to recover your data, and then how do you actually recover from a disaster, right, and recover from situations. And so where we play today in the industry, in our business, is essentially in that space where we're backing up our clients and helping them recover in a more faster, economical way. So, and how we got started into this, from a history standpoint, had been in technology probably 15, 18 so years, and I had a technology company where we were what they call a value-added reseller. Value-added reseller, and there's a whole bunch of other acronyms. I think they started labeling this over the years, but it was the guys that were selling Microsoft and the IBMs and the HPs. And so I've been in the industry for a long time and got into consulting and coaching when I sold my company. Got into consulting and coaching into the technology arena with a lot of larger companies throughout the U.S. And just by chance, a majority of them were organizations that were getting into the backup disaster recovery industry through that same channel that I was involved in for a number of years. And so I was involved in a very big, what you would call explosion of a BDR appliance type of software service appliance all wrapped into one, part of that explosion. And at the time I was doing a lot of coaching and consulting with, and probably 60, 70% of them. And had an opportunity in late of 2009 to go direct with a partnership and really go direct and actually start competing against a lot of those companies. But it was an opportunity. It's what you call you have an opportunity to grab the tiger by the tail and really run with it. That's what it was. And so that's what we did. We started laying the groundwork in 2009. We had already been in business, since 2006 at that point. So in 2009 we started laying the groundwork to really have what we call a real scalable, sound solution that we could go to market with, and having the experience with a lot of those other players and now what's now become our competitors, we sort of had an advantage, in a go-to-market strategy standpoint. So and that's what we do today. So that kind of gives you a little bit of history, how we got into it and kind of where we play.
No, that's pretty extensive. It sounds like most of it's all focused on efficiency and timing. Time is money, of course, and it's diminishing those risks on that avenue. Pretty good. When you were talking about your background and experience, how long have you been in the industry itself, as far as from the IT infrastructure perspective?
Well, now you're going to start dating my age, and that's not real fun. I would say, when I got out of college, I was one of these guys I was a music major, had a full ride, and truth of the matter is there's two areas that I really, really was keen on, and that was technology and business. So to be candid with you, as soon as I got out of college, within about a year, I had a gentleman who actually picked me up and wanted me to be a salesperson for him, selling the Apple brand, if you want to call it, because nobody was advocated into that arena. And I was pretty, at that point, kind of young and dumb, really didn't know, whether Apple was the hottest thing going or not. At the time, this is when Steve Jobs actually had left Apple and started a company called Next. So that'll start to date you. All right, so he had just left, started a company called Next Computer, and I was out there pushing the Apple products. I've been in the industry, 18 some years, I guess, and so I've got a fairly extensive background in technology, and from there grew into mostly on the sales side. became a sales technical person predominantly. I've always been called a very creative individual, and candidly, most of my people and acquaintances and business colleagues over the years have always said that they wanted, if they had to have anybody come in the technology, business environment and to help get them out of a ditch or a situation, I was the guy that got called. Don't know if I like that position, but I guess I've had to accept it over the years. And but essentially that's my background. So I've got I've sat on the Nortel council when Nortel was real hot to trot. Been used to fly out about once a month on their council. Sat on the Microsoft council. Was the Oki Data roundtable. The company I started, we had a number of awards that we got when I started the technology company as a VAR. We got a number of awards from Nortel and Microsoft from a revenue standpoint and a solution standpoint. And so I feel like I've got a good background, a good handle on the industry. I know the channel real well. I know the players that are involved in it on an even higher level. Even as date as back as 2006, was the front cover of a national magazine called CRN. So I think, from a standpoint of an experience and education, and if you want to call it experience of hard knocks, I've had a little bit of all of them, along with some nice publicity over the years of, being touted one of the guys that kind of knows what he's doing going forward.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds like you're very diverse and you have a lot of experience all over the place. What I'd like to kind of do is, I want to help the listeners understand, one thing about this subject. Sometimes it's not easy to follow unless you kind of lay some of the groundwork. When you get into backup recovery and cloud computing and those type of things, how would you explain to the general public what BUCS does?
Well, the easiest way to here's the easy example that I try to give people, because most individuals, you've got either a desktop or a laptop, or these days you've got an iPad or some iPad, what I call iPad equivalents, that you operate from home. And so the easiest avenue to take is I'm going to go down towards a home-based situation. So what happens is in backup, if you look at, and I'll use another industry as an example. If you go back far enough to 8-tracks and cassettes, and then the evolution we call it, moving into the CDs, and now we're seeing DVDs and Blu-ray type of technology, that's very similar to what data backup is. Right? In fact, it's the exact same technology. The tapes we've been running tapes, and companies today even still run tape-based technology for their backup. And it's very difficult to manage an environment on tape. Can you back up? Yes, but can you do something with it? It becomes very difficult. So if you look at today's technology and what hard drives and what you see, all the little USB storage devices that are out in the marketplace, here's what happens. You today are backing up, let's say, your desktop at home, and you back it up on what they call a file-based level environment. Basically, file is a Microsoft Word document. You save it as a file. And if you make a change, then now you have another file, or maybe the same file with just changes. What we do that's different in the backup arena is that we back up on a byte level, which basically means that we're backing it up on your changes or a smaller level, because your file's made up of multiple bytes. What happens is we back it up at a byte level and take snapshots. Just like a camera would take a snapshot, we take snapshots. So what happens is then we take snapshots, and so now because we take snapshots and we do it at a byte level, we can now do it as little as every 15 minutes. So we're backing up your desktop every 15 minutes on a little local appliance that sits beside of you. And we're taking snapshots in a manner that gives us where we're archiving. So every 15 minutes we're basically backing it up or taking snapshots and archiving them, roll them up, meaning that we take every 15 minutes, we roll it up into a single hour. Hours roll up into days, and days into weeks, and so forth. So we have multiple images now on this little appliance that sits there backing up your desktop. Well, how is that important? Well, it's important because, one, I can back up more frequently because I'm byte level based. So if you have problems, you're not as deep in the hole, right? So if you're file based and you're using a company, let's say like Mozu Pro, you're doing once a day, and so you're going to lose a whole day. With me, you may lose 15 minutes. The second thing is that in file level based backup, it's very difficult to restore because we're taking snapshots. Have you ever taken a snapshot or a picture, Chris, and said, hey, okay, you've taken a picture of a flower, and then said, okay, now become a flower, a real flower? Kind of impossible to do. That technology is not there today.
Right.
We can do that. However, we can do that, though, in the data world. all the snapshots that we're taking, I actually have the ability to convert into a real working environment or machine. So if your desktop dies, I can go to any image that we've taken or archived image on that appliance, and I can now turn it up, or what we call virtualize. If you're familiar with the company VMware, right, they've really revolutionized the word virtual, and I can now take those images and I can virtualize those images to give you a working machine, a working desktop, right? So what's the typical situation that happens? Typical situation happens is that now your desktop dies. You maybe have your files backed up onto a little local appliance, but you've got to go buy something down at Best Buy and get there as quick as you can, come back, get it loaded, load your operating systems and load your applications, and now they're going to import all your files. This could take a day, 2 days, just depends, right, or you find your local tech. With us, we have the ability to where take that appliance, you can plug in your monitor, plug in your keyboard, right, and we'll turn up in a virtual mode in the last time you backed up and have you up and running in, 20 minutes or less? All right, so, and then you can take your time. So now you can go shop. Right, you can go shop and buy whatever desktop you need to and continue to run and operate exactly where you left off from the last time that you wanted us to restore from, and just continue to operate and run, and gives you the time to be efficient. And then when you're ready to put your new machine back in, we're just going to completely what we call restore, right, or bare metal restore, or create a restore point, and we completely build your new machine on a brand new machine that you've just gotten and just copy everything over, and you'll be up and running. And it works. It's technology that actually works. So that's the easy example I can try to give you. On a local level, we do that at an enterprise level, right? So we take that up a whole other level to an enterprise level basis, to where now you're talking about servers and multiple server farms and large companies that have 100 servers. We give them the ability to have their servers to be truly going at all the time, because we're going to back up all those servers at a snapshot level and have a big appliance sitting in there that gives us the ability to turn up servers when they die, right, or have errors, or maybe have a virus that hit one of the servers and they shut it down, so we need to turn ours up prior to the time that the virus came in, or whatever the reason is. We have the ability to turn up on our appliance and have them to continue to run, hence the word business, or our name, business continuity. Right? We're giving clients true business continuity services through a mechanism of utilizing the backup and becoming more efficient at that, and giving them the ability to utilize that backup to recover at a mechanism that gives them the opportunity to continue to run their business, right? Pick, packing, and shipping is a key ingredient. You mentioned cloud, which is a key part of what we do. So to make it really interesting, everything that I just discussed and talked about that we do on a local premise, we mirror, or I'll use the Star Trek term, right? We replicate, right? We replicate it back into our cloud data center. Right, we replicate it there, so now we do exactly the same thing that we do locally. We now have the ability to do in the cloud environment that we have in our data centers. So I now can take your desktop, and I can take any of those images that I've replicated from the appliance to my data center, and let's say for some reason you just had a flood. You're in Florida and you had a big hurricane hit, and you're done. Everything's just gone, wiped out, right? Or Sledgehammer Charlie came through and because he was mad at you. Whatever the reason may be, you now are done. I can take you now to my data center, turn you up, virtualize, right? So I'm virtualize the image, publish it, give you a secure authentication login and password. You can take your little iPad, go down to Starbucks, right, with your local wireless there, log in with your authenticated login and password, and up pops your screen of where you, let's say, left off 15 minutes prior to the last replication of my data center, or maybe it's a 30 minute at that point. But essentially you can log in and pull up your desktop and get all the data and continue to run on that device wherever you are until you get back up and go on a local basis.
That's intriguing. So the building or the infrastructure that they're actually in doesn't necessarily have to be where they need to be to get back up and still remain productive? That's
correct. So that's on a local. So now take that on an enterprise level, right? So Exchange server dies. Now a lot of guys are moving into the cloud from. Let's look at cloud as a general offering. The issue about cloud is most companies, small, medium, or large, are not really 100% outsourcing that cloud technology. In other words, outsourcing 100% of everything they do to cloud. So we have the ability in the cloud, if you just take Exchange server, for example, we have the ability to turn up somebody's Exchange server in our cloud if their whole data center got wiped out, and have email continue to operate and run, which has become email. And the reason I point that out is that email has become as critical as your phone today. right? So if your email goes down, I mean, I'm sure everybody on the phone, listening or on the conference today will tell you you're panicking because somebody's sending you stuff and you're not sure if you're even getting it, right? So we have the ability to do that on an enterprise level, and we can do that with all their servers as well.
I mean, I can assure you that probably everybody on this call and listening has lost some key piece of data or something where they had to recreate work. It's never fun. There's no doubt about that. That's very, very intriguing, especially with the I always look at the business model and what you're doing, and I kind of apply it to the state of our economy and what the United States is doing. And over the course of the last 20 years or so, we've been going more to a service information driven society, in the sense that data is everything. And if you lose it, you're losing productivity in a major way. And I'm sure you're all over that and maximizing that. How about if you go into your business objectives a little bit?
Yeah. So if you look at kind of what we're, from an objective standpoint, what we're going after, there really are three key components to what we deliver as a solution. One is an appliance. Two is the actual backup mechanism or the software that we utilize to do all the work, and the third is in the cloud. So those are three components to the solution that we today deliver on a direct and indirect basis. So if you look at our objectives as a business internally, we're constantly trying to make the better appliance, or if you want to call it the widget, to stick out at our client's premise. But the underlying objective behind that is that a lot of guys out there are trying to back up directly in the cloud. The reason why we want a premise-based offering is we consider that to be a hybrid-based offering. We want premise because we want to be able to have something in the client's premise that gives us a lot more flexibility, it gives us a lot more stickiness, and it gives us a lot more control over our solution to be able to deliver our client. So one of our objectives from a technology and a business standpoint is that from technology-wise, we got more flexibility in the fact that we have an appliance there. Secondly, by having an appliance there on the business side, it gives us a lot more stickiness because we're in the closet. The old term used to be, as a VAR, if you control the closet, you control the client's destiny as far as technology, and that's still true. So that's kind of as far as an objective. Secondly, we want to partner and utilize software platforms that gives us the most flexibility overall for the marketplace. And that meaning that we want to be able to back up Windows environments, which we do today, Linux environments, which we do today, and then long term, we're working on being able to do AS400 as well. So we want to have the ability all in a single appliance, utilizing software to be able to back up all three within a single environment. Today we do Windows and Linux, and we're very close on the AS400 side to be able to offer that as a single solution. So on an objective standpoint, what that does is, technology-wise, opens the doors for us in a multitude of ways to be able to offer more to our clients, because today clients have all three. And then B, on the business side, it really starts to create a more competitive advantages for us in the marketplace by offering all three, because guess what? There are very few companies that really offer all three. So that's really kind of an objective there.
So you're not just building an IT infrastructure, you're building an efficient IT infrastructure, basically. Correct. Gotcha.
And then thirdly is the cloud. So go ahead.
Sure. No, go ahead. You're doing great.
Okay, that's fine. So that's right. So our third objective is the cloud. The cloud piece, very candidly, is a major objective of ours to really, continue that pattern of what we've already built. The reason why is a number of things. One, you mentioned the word cloud today, and everybody's just got oohs and ahs over it because they think it's just this wonderful, great new thing. Reality is cloud's really not that new. I mean, it's a data center, and you're mirroring, or what I want to call the word, I guess one of these fluff maybe, right? So we're just fluffing it up in a little bit different way and carving it out a little bit differently is all we're doing. But cloud is the data center piece, and cloud by itself, those pieces and components are a huge offering for us. They give us the ability to really get into the market in some other areas just because of the word cloud, I know itself, but more importantly, the data center. Years ago, laptops it used to be the word real estate, and everybody and their brother was trying to make laptops faster, smaller, more efficient, and cheaper, right? So all those, and today I would say it's probably still true, but a big one in there was real estate, and it was key that you were trying to build things small enough because you only had so much real estate inside the laptop. Data centers are now doing that on a greater basis, and if you read or do any studies on the Gartner Group or IDC or any of those guys out there, all the reports are showing that data centers are finally at a point where the growth is absolutely astronomical, and real estate is becoming, absolutely imperative on your solution and what you're doing. For example, it wasn't that long ago that I know we were dealing with, gigabytes, and I think probably everybody today that's on the call even probably say, gigabytes is kind of where I'm at. I bought a 500 gigabyte drive for my machine, or a 1 terabyte. It's interesting. Everything that we do is in a 2 to 3 terabyte drive. Period. When we put servers and things in our data center, for example, I'm right now evaluating a chassis that does 72 drives that I can put 3 terabyte drives in it. Right, so that's 72 times 3 terabytes. Right, in one chassis unit.
Wow.
That's a 4U. Yeah, it's a 4U based unit. I'm getting technical, but goes into a single rack. So if you look at the cloud, objective for us, it is a place that we are playing big in right now, and that we've got a lot of contracts and partnerships that we've developed that really drive just cloud technology. That companies are in the backup that needed the cloud piece to kind of help them, and at the same time we're using that cloud piece on our solution and our offering. And so it's become a very a big piece of our objective as a business, because long term we see that as an incredible growth opportunity and great margins in what we're seeing right now.
Sure. Now, where do you see your specific audience or customer base for the technology in your business model?
Right now, we've really set ourselves up as a direct and indirect play. All right. So, let me define that out. So, on a direct mechanism, we really try to focus on 1,000 employees and above. And then on the indirect side, has been most of the players on the indirect are what we call, or what the industry calls MSPs, and these are managed service provider guys. And if you look at managed services, the reason why it's that way is that look at managed services itself, it's a monthly fee-based product or service offering. And so these guys are out there selling, a monthly service, and those guys, and so this BDR type of platform is it's a monthly based service / solution / hardware all wrapped into one. So it fits real nicely into this managed services offering. It also gives them a real advantage when they put BDRs combined with their managed service solution. So on an indirect side, what's happening is we're selling indirect to a lot of channel players or solution providers across the U.S. on an indirect play. And under our indirect, we're also signing contracts with companies, larger companies that have a BDR type of solution that said, hey, we really need to round out our solution by utilizing your cloud. Can we do that? And so on an indirect play, we have really two forms. One is our solution providers, and two is in an indirect play where we're actually outsourcing, if you want to call it, or being outsourced for our data center cloud technology that we've got is currently there. On the direct side, we've really tried to focus on 1,000 plus employees. Candidly, our reps are just like anybody else. They'll run across an opportunity that's a lot smaller, and we'll take the revenue. So I'm not going to make any beans about that. We will do it, and we've got clients that are under 1,000 employees.
It sounds like you get revenue from all angles.
Sales. I was a sales guy for a long time. I still am. There's just certain deals you just don't want to turn away. If you're a real good salesperson, you don't want to turn anything away. You want to try to get it all. So I can't blame them for that. But we try to stay focused in that 1,000 employee. We've made some good wins. We've had, if you go back through some of our press releases, you'll see that we've landed some very good wins through the direct side. We've had some very good wins on the indirect side as well. But our focus and where we're headed as far as our audience and our specific directions that we're going in, that's kind of our focus is the direct and indirect side. We do have a couple of verticals that we're working on with the local government, and then we're also currently, doing some evaluation stuff with some healthcare that may lead us into, some healthcare environments as well. But that would be probably our two main verticals that we're really involved in, the local government and healthcare.
Gotcha. Now, where would you describe the company at as far as, in your business plan? And I'm sure it's pretty dynamic. I mean, it sounds like you're really ingrained in a lot of different areas already. But, how would you describe to to potential shareholders, investors, and our listeners of exactly where you are and where you're going?
In terms of, let's define, I guess, a little bit deeper, if it's okay. As far as terms of business-wise, where we're going.
Business plan in where you are today, as in like today's date. I know you're doing a lot of different things. Normally I would ask about product, where you are in a production, but you're providing a service and you're providing it all over the place. So I would assume your marketing plan is focused on growth of what you're doing currently.
Correct. Okay, now I got you. I know where you're going now. So, yeah, currently we've had real good quarters. In fact, if you look, at our financials, we were doubling our revenue kind of quarter after quarter. And where we ran into in the third quarter was, frankly, we were just outpacing. Our revenue is outpacing kind of our ability to kind of grow with it. And so what we've done is we've stabilized that, and we're now, in a mode where we're going to push towards, more growth at this point because it's ready. We're experiencing back orders, which is something, I don't like personally, but it is kind of part of the nature of the beast, is that we're getting a demand in place for product and our services, at a level that sometimes is difficult to keep pace with. So if you look at kind of where we are, we're kind of above where I expected us to be currently. And then for next year, with our plans and kind of what we're headed, our intentions is we should be able to double our revenue, maybe as much as triple it next year. You got to look at technology. Cars and automobiles, we also know that, in 1999, 2000, another year, another car's coming out. And technology is just not that way. Technology comes out 4 and 5 times a year with all brand new stuff. And to do that means that once you kind of grab what I think I alluded to very early on, is once you grab the tiger by its tail, you better hold on and you got to run with it, because it's a window of opportunity. Mm-hmm. They don't come along very often, and that's kind of where we've been. So we're ahead of where we thought we would be from a standpoint of, technology and revenue-wise. We're a little behind on the marketing side because, we really didn't want to take on more than bite off more than what we could chew at the time. Although that's kind of what our plans are going into next year, is to really go after that because it's there. So we're there. We've already got ourselves expanded from a business standpoint into a couple of verticals that I already mentioned, which we're real excited about, and I hope we'll see some stuff I think happen from those next year. And then from a business standpoint, I'm pretty pleased with kind of where we are. We've got a real good. I think in some people's mind, like you even alluded to a little bit, we're sort of everywhere. For me in technology, we're very focused, meaning that we're very focused in the BDR, backup disaster recovery mode, and really not going outside of that. And in technology, it's extremely easy to do. So I'm kind of proud of the fact that we've not allowed ourselves to get too far down a rabbit hole. We've really stayed, narrowly focused on the BDR, backup disaster recovery, and have capitalized on a lot of that stuff.
So, how significant are the markets for, the BDR and the services that you're performing currently?
Well, if you look at what I call the big green giant that came into play about 5 years ago, and they did a very good job at capturing a channel. They didn't sell direct, but the technology was really too new, and they stumped their toe, I think, quite a bit over a period of about 2 or 3 years. A number of players have come into the market, since then, but with the experience that we've got, and the experience of kind of knowing where their strengths and weaknesses are, we've got a play that really fits nicely to capture a lot of market. But even if all that, you look at, there's about 8 or 9 players that are really involved in it or have gotten into the market. We're only still hitting maybe 7%, 8% of what's the market cap is. So we're well under, and I don't mean just us, I mean all the players involved. It's a underutilized, if you want to call it, market space right now that's got a lot of potential of revenue and growth to it. And again, going back to IDC and Gartner Group, they're even touting specifically in the backup disaster recovery and storage-based offerings as being phenomenal growth places in the industry, especially in the tech community as far as a specific type of technology. So I think you're going to see some consolidation take place with some of the early adopters that came in. They're trying to revitalize themselves. A few of them have moved into what they felt like was cloud technology, BDR / on steroids, and really are struggling. You've got a few that are focused, I think, in the BDR that are doing pretty well, are doing okay. We've got a few competitors that have, I will say, raised a lot of money for marketing growth, and they're still struggling, though, with some of the technology. Whereas the reason I like where we're playing in the marketplace is that, technology that we've got is working, and it's pretty solid. We've got some really good partnerships, and we've got a really good design on the direct side, and especially on the indirect side. We call it build your own BDR. And if you look at all the other guys that are in the channel doing BDR's technology, it's pretty much a skew, and here it is. And the frustration resellers have is that, one, they sort of like, resellers for the most part, like the ability to be able to design their own destiny, good or bad, right? And they're an entrepreneur that likes the control. And all of them, at the best of them, will control themselves right out of the business or control themselves right into, the best things in sliced bread. But they like that control piece, and to throw just plain old SKUs and not understand how it works or how it's designed, frustrates them. Plus, it doesn't give them the flexibility to offer the true solution to their clients that fits, tailors their clients' needs. So what we've done is create a Build a BDR program that gives them the ability to not only quote but also, build out a BDR that fits their clients' needs, or tailor-made, if you want to call it, a whole lot better than just a plain old SKU. So we feel like that, A, we've got a solid solution, and B, a solid offering in that they can really take something and run with it and make more profit and have what the client needs. On the direct side, again, it goes back to, A, there's huge growth potential into the marketplace, and B, we're one of the few that once we get the AS400 built into the appliance, we'll be one of the few, or I don't know the number, but we'll be one of the few that offer all three within a single environment. So, we're already pushing to that point where a lot of the other guys aren't. So, A, the market's got huge potential anyway. B, we like where we're sitting. In fact, from the fact of experience and from the actual solution itself.
You touched on the fact of partnerships. Can you go into that with a little bit more detail and, discuss the potential for each?
Oh, no. Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we've got a number of partnerships. One, I mentioned the word, or I mentioned the company VMware earlier. VMware is a partner to what we do. They are a partner to us in our data centers. They're a partner to us in our solution on a local basis. And that partnership allows us to customize, allows us to be able to create, customize our solution better, to continue to enhance our current offering that we've got. And then more importantly, a company like VMware, it's not a bad partnership to have. That's a significant part of our solution. The other partnership that we've got, which is a very significant partner, is Aperture. And if you look at those guys, they're absolutely, excuse the pun, but they're kicking butt and taking names. They're doing a very, very good job with their product solution and their software. And if you look at it, Aperture's core product is our core product in what we deliver. It's one of a couple, but it is a core product in what we're delivering. So we have a couple other partnerships that you can't really divulge yet, but those will be divulged, hopefully sometime in the near future, next year, that we've been working with pretty closely in the overall solution and again overall product delivery that we're doing, and they're also some of the ones that are utilizing our data center. So we've got some very large partnerships there, and then we also have we are also a Microsoft partnership. Has been very good for us as well. There's some interesting discussions that we've been having with them on our solution and how we've been, utilizing the storage server that they provide, the software they provide as well. So, and then, they've also been trying to push into the cloud. And so there's been some nice partnerships that we've been working with on them as well.
The very intriguing answer. I know you mentioned the fact that you have partnerships that you can't really go into right now, and I completely understand that. I'm just kind of curious of how I ask a question regarding what are your long-term opportunities for your company and your direction, and if you're adding partnerships, it's clearly more robust growth. But can you kind of touch on that without actually going into the things you can't discuss?
Well, if you look at, I can. One of the things that I mentioned earlier was the cloud technology, or what I like to refer to as it's really the data center, right? The fluff word is the cloud. It's a data center, and if you look at the gross margin and profitability, on the data center itself, there's tremendous growth there, and there's tremendous opportunity there. We've been able to secure some contracts through some of the data centers that we've got, and from a revenue standpoint, we've been able to secure some contracts that will bring revenue to the table, utilizing those data centers and the technology and the design that we've put together. Our cost points on the data center per gigabyte are just incredible. They've potentially become very, very competitive in a number of offerings that if we ever wanted to take on, we could. And so if you look at long range and long term and where we're going, some of the areas that I've been real key on is to try to utilize that data center in other areas that still keep us focused and still, where we can still utilize our current SG&A, right, our current costs, and that we've already and keep our focus, but be able to drive more revenue or from other sources to utilize the same thing we've already got and currently doing, is to drive some of that in because of our cost point on a per gigabyte basis.
Sure. I understand
that sort of helps answer that question. I'll throw one out at you. So here's a little statement I give a lot of times, right? All right, so I'll throw it out at you. If you look at some major players in the marketplace that talk about the gigabyte, per price gigabyte pricing, and you'll see things anywhere between 8 to 10 cents a gig. That's on the low end, and that is on the low end. We have the ability to take on 7, 6 cents a gig if we wanted to, and still be very profitable. In fact, 6, 7 cents a gig, we're still maintaining 50, 60% gross margins on that type of revenue stream, even when some of your big, large organizations that offer gigabyte pricing at the 8 cents is their lowest level, if that gives you some kind of idea. So we realize that our data center is a very, very healthy margin place for us, and we want to capitalize on that as much as we can, along with maintaining our focus in the back of disaster recovery.
Sure. No, I appreciate
Does that answer a little better?
It does. No, both answers were perfectly fine, but I'm sure the listeners are happy with the second answer. What are the how about the catalysts or milestone events that you anticipate over the next year?
Well, one's on revenue, obviously. My goal is to really get us, I want to double plus our revenue. Right? That's the term I think I use around here is, we want to double plus it. Right? We want to, not only just double, we want to go past that. So, for next year, one of the milestones for us is to really get that going. There's no reason why we can't. The opportunities are there. Just by getting up, out of our back order status would do that for us alone. And so that's one of our key areas. Second key area is to get the S400 up and running as a solid offering. And then thirdly, one of the nice parts, when I talked earlier about our 3 kind of piece offering, the appliance, the backup part, and the cloud, one of the other areas that we really want to get involved in more is to be able to reverse that technology. So if you look at cloud today, I'll explain what that means is, if you look at cloud today, I said earlier, very few people are adopting 100% cloud offer. In other words, most people don't want to take their company 100% cloud. I'm willing to take, Microsoft Outlook or Office, or maybe I take my Exchange or my email and I outsource it or whatever, but I'm not willing to take everything 100%. The reason why is because, if, again, it's my business, whether I'm in healthcare, whether I'm in automotive or I'm in manufacturing, it's irrelevant, or retail. Everybody picks, pack, and ships, right? Everybody does. And if all of a sudden, if everything is in the data center and the Joe from the backhoe service comes down and cuts my line, right, I can't access the internet. I can't get to my cloud. I can't pick, pack, and ship. So there's still some issues with taking 100% there. So the reason I go down this path with you is simple, in that if you look at our solution today, we take an appliance at a local level, we back everything up to it, and we replicate that to our data centers. So it gives the client a full backup and cloud offering, what we call a hybrid kind of environment today. But if tomorrow, the reason I like our solution, I think probably the most, is that tomorrow, if Mr. Client says, you know what, I am comfortable now with moving everything to the cloud, I'm not so worried about Joe, cutting my line, I'm willing to move 100% to the cloud, we can take them there and then reverse the process.
Gotcha.
So if you look at one of our milestones next year is to have the ability to say, Mr. Client, if you want to go all the way to 100% cloud, we'll do that, and we'll keep our appliance at your local site, and we'll reverse the process, meaning that we're going to back everything up from our data centers down to your appliance. So we're going to give you an added protection that says, hey, don't worry about Joe. If he cuts the line, no big deal, right? We'll turn you up on our local appliance because we're still backing you up or replicating backwards now down to that appliance, and we'll just turn those images up, virtualize them, and continue to have running operation for you so that you can still pick, pack, and ship. Oh, and by the way, your
Gotcha.
data's still there. So if you want to pick up your Apple Cart, because you're nervous about where's my data, right, it's here. You've still got it. You've still got access to it at a local level.
So based off your client's needs, basically you're scalable, and you will tailor that service as well then. Right,
and you got to look at it. It's called investment protection, right? It's been that way for years. In the technology industry, a lot of guys used to tout forklift upgrades because every time you bought something, it seems like you had to, forklift it out of the building and put something brand new in. With this solution, it not only it tailors it, right? It gives us the ability to give them some investment protection long term because of that appliance they were putting at a local site.
All right, no, that's pretty amazing. All right, now we kind of talked about your different milestones, and your catalysts, and a key thing that are triggering in my head are doubling revenues from you're doing well now, and aggressive growth over the course of the next year. I mean, based off that pace, I mean, where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years? I mean, are you a major player in this market?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. There's no reason why we can't be a major player in the marketplace. Again, the industry, is becoming known as a $1 billion plus industry in just the backup data storage cloud technologies. Combine them together, and you've got a massive opportunity. I think that with the pace and the solution that we got, and the partnerships that we've got, and the things we've got coming up, we can very easily be a major player in the marketplace. So from a 5-year standpoint, I think just like any other company, especially in your technology, we're going to have to change and adapt a little bit as things come out. But the nice part is that we run lean and mean. We are very aggressive on the sales side, and we go after it. So I feel very comfortable about where we are and what we can do between now and the next 5 years. Doubling revenue year after year is not out of the question. It is a very real thing. Maybe more than that. I know that Aperture. If you look at Aperture and look at some of the numbers, they're experiencing 1,000+% increases, quarter after quarter, and that's one of our major players. So if that kind of gives you any idea of what I believe the marketplace could do for us, between now and the next 5 years, we could see some very significant, revenue streams that are reoccurring revenue streams that carry a stickiness to it, right, by having the appliance and the clients on the client's premise.
Okay. Well, on those lines, if you don't mind me asking, what's your balance sheet look like?
Typical balance sheet, income and just kidding with you. The nice part about our balance sheet, we don't have any long-term debt, right? So, the company doesn't have any loans, doesn't have any long-term debt. It's a good position there. From a cash standpoint, it's not the greatest in the world. It's not where you'd like it to be, but most of that's because we're basically paying for our own growth. If you really watch our balance sheet, you'll see that our cash kind of goes down and our assets go up because what we're doing is building out our data centers. So that's generally what you see on the top end. Receivables we don't have a lot of, and mainly because we're a monthly recurring based type of deal. So month to month, it's most of our revenue's coming in on a month-to-month basis, and or we've either leased out the solution through a partnership, through our financial partners. We've leased the solution out, and again, so that's just like a normal lease, cash in, and there really is not a receivable after you're paid on that. So, we don't have a ton of receivables or age receivables laying out there either. So it's a fairly healthy company. It's a fairly healthy company. It's a good balance sheet as far as, from a room to grow. It's a good position to be in.
Normally how we would do that with, from our end when we're, especially from an investor standpoint, it's always, okay, is the company clean? Yes. Are they net profitable? Yes. Or do they have massive profit margins? Yes. And that's clearly you're on those tracks. So, great job. So let's go with investors and potential shareholders. What do you think makes BUCS a good investment for them?
We've got a lot of parts and pieces that the industry, as far as technology is concerned, everybody's trying to get involved in. I mean, all the big players, and everybody sees that the revenue potential and growth is there. What a great place to be as a company that's on the incubator or past the incubator part, that's got revenues, that's growing, that's got some great partnerships, that you can get in at kind of a ground floor place. Candidly, it's amazing to me some of the press releases that we've put out, and I haven't seen more, than what we've already seen. And I think most of it has to do with the fact of awareness. I think a lot of people just don't realize, who we really are, what we really have been doing, and where we've really been going. But you go back through any of the press releases. I mean, we've delivered some very good press releases that any company of any size would love to have their hands on. To be able to say, hey, this is us. So I think from an investment standpoint, I think it's a great investment. Maybe I'm biased, right? But I think it's a great investment. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's a ground floor opportunity. Look, I'm still kicking myself on the head from when I sold my Apple stock when it was down below to $1 and something.
I think everybody is.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're going to be the next Apple, but I'm still kicking myself on the head, for not doing it when I was selling Apple. Still kicking myself in the head when Corning was down so far. I mean, I think we're a great company. It's got a great story that's got good profits and revenue. I think it's a great investment for an investor.
On those lines, because I probably should have asked you this before there, what's your share structure look like?
Well, currently, we're not. Currently, you have to apologize. I have to apologize. I'm not a big stock guy necessarily. So, but currently the share structure we have it's a very solid share structure. We don't have any toxic funding or any of that kind of stuff on the table. There's nothing there. We don't have any debt as far as I can't remember the actual term they call it, but we don't have any of that either. And as far as funding and stuff, I mean, yeah, we are looking to do some funding, but we want to do it in the right way, which means we don't want to drag in toxic type of debts. We don't want to drag in major dilutions of share. We just don't want to do any of that. We are going to do some capital funding because of our growth. And it'll be done in a way that's advantageous for the company to make it grow and be more profitable, and at the same time also be advantageous for shareholders and have a good structure behind it. I had a guy years ago tell me, and it's something I've always tried to kind of live by, and that's if you can start a business without cash, then all cash will accelerate the business. And there's just not a lot of businesses out there that can do that. This business started without cash. This business was able to get going without any to all capital. I mean, it just was able to run and take off based on that. It can churn and run at that own pace without it. And based on the fact that if we add fuel to that fire, right, we're going to get a bigger fire. And that's where we are. If we add fuel to it and we add capital to it in the right way, we're going to not only benefit shareholders, we're going to absolutely see some great growth and revenue and profitability go to the bottom line. I'm more of a component, of having a business that's solid behind a public entity driving profits that benefit the company and its employees, as well as that in turn benefits the shareholders on a long-term, short-term basis anyway as well. I'm more of a component of that. So that's kind of our intentions going forward.
No, I'm glad you answered it like that, because probably like in about 15 minutes into the interview, we were talking about the marketplace as it is, and the fact that really only, I think the number that you stated was 7% is actually capped, and there's this huge revenue machine that can be built here if you go after it in a methodical, marketed business plan approach, and it sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. So I assume you have a pretty decent float size, low float, or
yeah. If you look at the financials, it's sitting around 40. I believe it's 44,000 was the, or 40. Excuse me, 44 million was the float.
Okay, great. My apologies.
Correct.
I didn't take the time out to look at your filings, but I definitely wanted to ask that, because you have me very intrigued on a lot of different things here. And normally when it comes to the IT world and those type of things, I'm the guy that says I just want my computer to work. You don't, not to digress here, but, to give you the story of the way most people operate is Hurricane Irene almost hit our area. And, I'm talking to the wife, and I'm like, are we insured completely for this? And, neither of us knew. So, of course, we call, and we're not insured, right? And then they wouldn't even accept me until after the hurricane came through. So I know what you do is extremely, extremely important and can be monetized in huge revenues. It's just getting that awareness out to where it's like, look, I can save you millions and millions of dollars in productivity loss, time, the tech services involved, and not to mention the value of whatever the lost data was. I mean, there's some
right.
major businesses that require what you do. So that's pretty amazing
stuff.
I
tell you, yeah. I mean, you hit on the subject. I can't resist. It's affordable. Right? And what I mean by that, you kind of struck on something, is a lot of people with the insurance thing, they don't do it because it's expensive, or they don't want to pay the money, and then all of a sudden they get hit and they go, oh, I wish I did, and then they realize, or they never investigate, and they realize, well, I could have afforded that. Why didn't we do that? And that's really where we play. I'll give you an example. For small businesses, we can do $99 a month, which includes an appliance, 2 terabytes of data being backed up locally, and includes the cloud, all wrapped into one for $99 a month. So if you take any small business that's got even one server, $100 a month to have that kind of peace of mind and to continue to run, the benefits are huge. In today's marketplace, we mentioned earlier, if you're down for a certain period of time, what does that really do for your business? I mean, is somebody else going to get an order?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Even eBay stores. I mean, just go as far as eBay stores. If your eBay store is down, somebody else is buying it from somebody else because you're down.
Right. Absolutely.
So you can't operate. And so how critical is it to be up and running? So now, how critical is it to have a backup that says, oh, I can have you back up in 20 minutes. So you've lost 20 minutes of productivity, and then we'll go back and let's go fix your stuff. Right? Let's go buy a new server. Let's go buy a new whatever it is you have. And you got time to do it. Whereas that if you're down for so long, from a productivity standpoint, from a revenue standpoint, I mean, what are the magnitudes of that? What are the magnitudes of just an eBay store? That could be a high volume. Right. So anyway, sorry. You're right. What's
the amazing part about that too is the fact that not only did you lost the productivity, but you could potentially use that person as a customer too.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So
that goes down to that retail mechanism of your insurance and Irene. It's the what if you lost everything, right? What if you had that kind of situation, take place? So I think it's a great solution to be.
You're definitely in the right place, and especially you're definitely in the right place to be able to generate some revenues. How about as far as do you have any uplisting goals or any buyout possibilities or anything like that?
Yeah, you've got long range goals.
Well, I'm just kind of more. I guess I'm digging. If you can't go into it, I understand.
Okay, so in my business plan, right, year 2 and 3, into this thing, so acquisitions are something that's on the table that I want to begin to, look at. But one, I can tell you that first and foremost, we're going to build a growth. We're going to build a company, which we have, and we're going to grow and expand on it, and we're going to drive profits and revenue. And at that point, we feel like that we're at a place where it makes sense to do an acquisition to really accelerate our growth in a different way, or in my opinion, it's going to be less expensive for us to acquire a company or acquire into the market a little bit in order to accelerate our growth at the pace we are. That's on the table. But not until we get to that point where, it's less expensive for us to put capital in to accelerate the fire, right, to fuel that fire. If it's less expensive to do that, by golly, that's what we're going to do. If it's less expensive to go after an acquisition, it's on the plate in my year 2 and 3 as us to try to look at. So next year that is a place that we've talked about and we're looking at doing. As far as an area that I'd like to really go in that's untapped, you've got Mosey Pro and some of those guys out there that are doing what I call, it's basically a cloud or off-site backup. There's a few of them out there. They spend a lot of marketing advertising. Most of them are file-based. They're not byte-level based. Most of them can't do what we can do. And with one of our partnerships, we have the ability to get down to that level. Right? We have the ability that we can go after that retail space, and that is an area that I really, really want to go after and see us try to get into, because I believe that space, with what we do and our technology that we do, could really be some explosive. I think it could just be a huge area, because I think it could be a huge area. I mean, how many people work from home, and how critical is it being at home and working? How critical is that now? And that's an area
I would be dead in the water for a while if I lost mine. There's no doubt about it. Ramsey, I've asked you a lot of questions, and I kind of wanted to make this a little longer to where we could be clear on some of the topics and the things that you're talking about, because to the normal person, a lot of this stuff is not very easily to digest, because it's the back end, but it's a huge piece of protection and security and those type of things. But is there any question I failed to ask you that you may want to address?
No, you didn't ask me about my kids, and you didn't ask me about my family. I'm a little disappointed in that. No, I think you did a great job, and I hope, and some of these things an hour long, you can get kind of lost into some of it. So what I hope that didn't happen is that people listening and stuff really didn't get too lost. It is a huge opportunity, and the technology itself is there. It's a matter of just kind of simplifying it and saying, hey, look, it works. It's an opportunity in the market space. It's a great technology. It's something that, as people become more reliable, in the world on data and technology, it's something that becomes more critical. I mean, if you think about it today, what's 8 billion users, 8 billion people in the world. There's only 30% of them that have computers or internet. Well, back up. There's only 30% of them that have internet access. So, what is that saying on top of everything else? As this thing grows and gets bigger, that does nothing but have us grow and get bigger. Right? So, because we do have, in our data centers, we're already SAS 70, and then we've already got our international accreditation as well. So, that's going to open up a lot more doors, not just from a local standpoint, but also an international standpoint. So I think it's a great opportunity. So.
Sure, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your name in big bright lights here in the future when you take over the marketplace. Well, I appreciate you taking time out and being on our show. It was great having you, and thank you. Take care.
No problem. Hey, listen, I appreciate you having me, and feel free to set something up again. We'll do this again if you'd like.
No, that would be great. That would be great.
All right. Hey, have a good evening and have a great Christmas. Hopefully you're ready for it.
I hope so too.
Believe me, I appreciate
my wife
your time.
wants
Have a great evening.
Hey, you
no
too.
problem. I appreciate your time. Have a great evening.
You too. That was Mr. Ramsey Dellinger, the CEO of Business Continuity Solutions, Inc., stock ticker BUCS.